Welcome back to another episode of the Jackrabbit Illustrated Podcast. We're excited to have you join us today. Before we dive in, we'd like to thank our sponsors who help make this all possible. First off, a great big thank you to our title sponsor again for 2024, the Kubota dealers of South Dakota. Whether it's tractors, mowers, utility vehicles, construction, or farm equipment, Kubota's got you covered. With 9 convenient locations across the state of South Dakota and 1 in northwest Iowa, there's always a Kubota dealer nearby. Stop by your local Kubota dealer and see all they have to offer. All A-Team shows are sponsored this year by Culver's of Brookings and Watertown, home of the Butterburger, fried cheese curds, signature root beer, and world-famous custard. Culver's, welcome to Delicious. Next, we would like to recognize the support of our other A-Team podcast sponsors. Cubby Sports Bar and Grill, the best sports bar in South Dakota and home to the Jimmy Rogers Radio Show. Northwestern Mutual Wealth Management, see them for all your retirement and life insurance needs. And the Jackrabbit Former Players Association. And now, here is the A-Team.
And we're back. Happy Hobo Day. End of Hobo Day, Hobo Week, end of Hobo Week, whatever. Happy Marker Week. I was not here last week, so it is good to be back with Jake and Chad. No Dallas this week. He's off conducting important business somewhere. Super serious business, I'm sure, wherever it is. Important. Yep. But he says he's going to be joining us in the chat. So, Jake, how the heck you doing?
Good, man. What a time to be a Jackrabbit fan, right? I mean, holy smokes! I was thinking of that today and talking with some guys yesterday. I mean, when you look at where we're at right now as a program from a football team, the last couple of years, the momentum. I mean, we're selling out stadiums. There's more people at tailgating that can even get into the game. And then even big picture, you look at the athletic department as a whole. Women's soccer's 10-2, volleyball 16-0, cross country's kicking butt. I mean, I know there's been a long, strong history of Jackrabbit athletics, but this could be pretty high up there in terms of one of the best times, right? I mean, you guys agree?
Yeah, we are living in the good old days. We have been.
Oh my gosh,
for a little while.
This is awesome. Good time to be a Jackrabbit.
Yeah, for sure. Chad, how about you, buddy? Recovered from yesterday?
Well, my shins are a little sore because I did a power walk after dropping my wife off downtown. Walked all the way through the parade from the stadium to Wooden Legs. Yeah. And so my shins are, I'm kind of a fat old man. I don't power walk like that very much.
Yeah. You're still, yeah. Chad still loves the parade, everyone. Even though parades are for kids, Chad still loves the parade. So
yeah, I'm just a big kid. Have you ever seen me at tailgating?
that is true. The biggest kid there. Yep. So, all right. Well, first, before we get too far into the show here, just got to say thank you to our sponsors. Our title sponsor for this year is Kubota. You may have saw it if you follow me on Twitter, the Jackrabbit Illustrated Twitter account. I was in Nashville this last week, and I was just shocked to see on the people movers that they have downtown, the tour guides, little Kubota tractors, maybe bigger than mine. Compact
was
Kubotas.
Like a B series or a Grand or what they call them.
Yeah, not a BX like us. So pulling a wagon full of people. The wagon was like a barn type wagon. But I think that just shows like how versatile the Kubotas are. I know Ben talked about this on B Team before, that the Kubotas just look nice out and about. They are nice looking machines. They just look fancy, well kept, all that good stuff. And if they're good enough to be driving down Broadway in Nashville, they are good enough to be on your acreage farm, whatever it may be. So thank you, Kubota, for your support of the podcast. I know Jake is still waiting for his side-by-side. So let's make that happen. Get him driving around Brookings in that.
Make my dog walks a lot easier. Just let her run beside. Just drive. It'd be better.
There you go. There we go. All right. Next up, Culver's. And so, Chad, I know that after the game, what happened after the game for you?
So Brendan and Ariel left early because we were just getting cooked on the east side by the sun, and obviously the game was out of hand. We stayed for almost a whole extra quarter, and we pull up to Culver's because the gals wanted some burgers. So obviously Culver's is the place to go, right? I mean, we still had time before the game was over, so it wasn't overly busy. Pulled up in the truck, parked, got out. Someone yells at me, "Hey!" And it was Brendan. Like, what are you doing here? Yeah, they had went over to somebody's house and got some stuff that they had spent the night up there the night before, so they had to go get some of their stuff. Well, anyway, long story short, apparently Ben ended up there too, right behind Brendan. Didn't see him, but we were all there. I think we know what we were after. Unfortunately, that was for a limited time and they ran out. So I had myself my own custom order. My favorite order is really, I always get the mushroom and Swiss, but I get it on the sourdough because I like the sourdough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
split that with the wife and an order of cheese curd. I got mine with onion rings and the order of cheese curds. So it was pretty good. Enjoyed that on the way home.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Has anyone been there yet to try the chili that Ryan Hollett recommended? Nope.
Oh.
All right.
Culver's?
Got to try his chili.
Haven't.
Yeah,
Is chili a soup? Anyway.
All right. But thank you of Culver's of Brookings and Watertown for sponsoring the show, the A-Team show, and being a sponsor now for quite a few years. So really appreciate you, Culver's. And it's kind of cool just seeing all of our Jackrabbit Illustrated family here, listeners and whatnot, always tweeting out that you're at Culver's, tagging us in it. Please keep doing that. Makes my day. I'd like to know your orders too. So, all right. And so, fellas, I wrote this in Rants and Raves this morning, but I watched the game from my iPhone screen, the whole thing, and did not get to see it in person, did not get to experience Hobo Day. I realized today I've missed 4 straight Hobo Days now, dating back to the you and I loss that we had. Yep.
If you weren't running this outfit, I think we'd have to pull your Jackrabbit fan card, but
yeah, right. Yep, take it. Yeah, I'm sure my wife would appreciate that. But so tell me about the day. I don't care who starts. I just let me live through your experience here.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's funny. So the story of Coach Stig last year, I think, was fun. He was the grand marshal in the parade, and it was his first parade since college. Because he could never go, and so that was mine yesterday, my first parade since college, because played for so long. We moved away, and honestly, before kids, I really didn't have a lot of interest in it. So took the kids to the parade. They loved it. Little 2-year-old running in the street, grabbing candy. But just, I mean, literally from the Campanile, down Madary, west on 6, all the way up to Maine. I mean, it is an amazing thing to look at the people and the excitement for that. I mean, it was 3 deep the entire route, which again, I don't know, maybe it's always been that way, but I think it's just, it's one of those things that the excitement, the energy for that, and then you carry that into tailgating. The number of people I talked to at tailgating that didn't have tickets to the game, that just come to watch the game. I remember when I was in college, it was awesome. Some of the guys in the dorms or friends that I had, they would come to the game. They didn't have tickets, but I knew they had a reason to come, just to party. Which now I think it's just a matter of people are excited about Jackrabbit football. People are excited about the success we're having. And it's just really a cool atmosphere and a good experience. But then you add the product on the field. I loved your rants and raves today, Matt, because there was two rants.
3 or 4, and they're all about the defense for the most part.
And they were, and I think that's fair. But I think, man, it's just there's so much good right now. And again, I've always said I'm a bad fan. I'm probably a bad podcaster because I don't have a lot of criticism. Some disappointments, but not a lot of criticism. But there you go. Just a good day overall. I was able. My wife, again, she's about 26 weeks along, so I was walking too fast most of the time just because I was so excited to get place to place. But it was great. We were probably about 20-30 rows in front of Ben, so I got to get him a hard time the whole time during the game as well. But just a great day. I mean, overall, like I was saying to the start, man, what a better time to be a Jackrabbit fan right now.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool. Chad, how about you, man?
Got there early. Game day operations. Kudos to you for opening the lots early and letting us in from the north. If I have a suggestion, it's let's continue to allow that to be a thing, and let's figure out how to let us leave to the north. But that's a small gripe. It's not the end of the world. The gals wanted to go to Culver's anyways, so we had to go through town more or less. Anyway, the parade was great. I missed the pride. I didn't quite catch up to them. They were at the very front of the parade this year, which is abnormal. So we completely missed them because our tradition is to go see my buddy Seth at Wooden Legs, get a beer. And we need to talk to him about a collaboration. I forget about that. Anyway, have a beer, do the pancakes. They do the fan cakes before every home game. And this time they were raising money for the humane the dog shelter up there, dog and cat shelter, the Humane Society. So that was cool. So we threw some money in the kitty, no pun intended, and got a ride from Dan. He's a big Jackrabbit fan. Thanks to Dan and his family for giving me a ride back to the stadium. But I had to walk away to get the ride, but that's cool. There's a lot less walking, I can tell you that. Then, tailgate was great. We can talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, we ended up by the Jackrabbit former players tailgate too, right before we left for the day. And it was slammed up there. It was awesome to see all the people like Jim Poppin had said. Yeah, we raised some money for Alex's lemonade stand. Jim did a great job with the Lemon Top Challenge. We can talk about that again more later. There's probably going to be a rant on the next podcast about a game day operations thing, but I will let that person make that rant, and it will be a rant.
Just set the timer. Make sure you set the timer for him.
Yeah.
It's always fun when Ben gets really upset like that.
Yeah, that's who it's going to be too. So anyway, I think we all know, but yeah, it's great. We went into the game. The first play was amazing. We can maybe transition right into the game recap if you want. The first play from scrimmage, I guess, technically, was the kickoff return for 99 yards. It was amazing. The place was electric from that point until a little after halftime, I'd say. I mean, the pride was fantastic. The pride show was amazing. People that weren't paying attention, my wife was watching. My wife's a band instructor, so she was watching the marching instead of watching on the big screen. But I'm just Joe Average fan, so I was watching the formations on the big screen. They had a horse which the legs moved, like it was pretty cool. So kudos to Mr. Kessler. Got my picture with him too out by the north lots and the backyard. That was pretty cool. Ray Gronowski coming by our tailgate, brought a friend. He was thoroughly just like blown away by the atmosphere. He's like, this is not what I would expect in South Dakota for a tailgate. Like, this is pretty much the best tailgating atmosphere I've ever seen.
Yes.
And yeah, Bob was really impressed. So
is that who tagged us in the pictures?
Yeah, he's got a picture of me and Dan Haybeck walking with
the speakers. Yep.
Yeah, it was good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean it was a great day overall. No complaints, right? I mean, we can get into it when we do this recap here about some of the areas for improvement.
Yeah, I think because we started at the kick return. Let's talk about special teams, right?
Oh my God,
in general. So let's think back. 3-4 years ago, even when we were competing for national championships, it was still like, God, let's not let the special teams
kick it out of bounds.
Let's not let us lose the game. Because that was a big thing for a long time. Kick returns, punt returns, whatever it may be, kind of momentum tightening, changing plays. And it just was gross that's a lot of times how we started to lose games. So we always were just like, just play even. We don't have to win it. Just play close to even. And now we are thoroughly dominating in special teams. And this is what Pat Cashmore's third season with the team.
Yeah.
Or second or third.
Second.
Yeah. Second. And I think you're really starting to see, all this young talent that is buying into what he's teaching and the position coaches saying, hey, if you want to make the bus and travel, you're going to bust your ass on special teams. And you're seeing these guys do it. I mean, they have kick returns of 10, 10, and 8 yards on their kick returns. What?
The coverage units are them. They're absolutely ankle tackling that guy before he can even get going. It was phenomenal. The couple times that it happened right in front of us, like, man, you can't ask for anything better. You just can't. So,
Coach Cashmore came in spring of 2023, so this would be his second season.
Sure. Wow.
But again, I think Coach Rogers referenced it in the post-game presser again about special teams and on how our team is just really bought into it and how we make it an important element. And I'm not saying it was never not an important element with Coach Stig. It was, but I think like when you get to another level to this, and I think the tiers of guys, I mean, we've talked about on the offensive line, we've talked about the D line, we've talked about for some of those depth positions. Those are opportunities for those guys to make a statement, to show themselves that they can play, show the coaches that they have what it takes. And I think that paired with, Jimmy referenced it, Coach Cashmore just kind of taking the approach he does. It's just a really cool thing to see, like how strong that special teams is, because it's making a difference. That's the thing, is like, look at the last couple games. Like, we are blocking punts, we're returning kicks, like you guys talked about the coverage. I mean, when you can do that, and then you're not making mistakes other places, but if you did make mistakes other places, penalties or something like that, you're not shooting yourself in the foot in special teams too. So, I mean, it's just a huge element of the game that props to them, the coaches and the guys right now, leaning into that.
Yeah. I think one of these games we're going to see on a kickoff where we get the ball back. It's bound to happen with how let's see what Corey was saying here. Hunter's kicking it higher than average, so our guys are getting down there basically when the ball's getting down there. And if they don't fair catch it, it could be interesting. I think we're gonna get another turnover there. And what a way to start off a game if you start kicking and get the ball right back. That's a free possession. We all know the more possessions you can get, the more likely you are to win a game.
Well, and with a couple big games, we'll talk about it, I know, but man, if you can have the edge in that coming up here in the next 2-3 games, that's big.
Yeah. And it's going to be a good test because both NDSU and USD have had very good special teams units this year. I think they both have multiple kick or punt returns for touchdown. Could be wrong on that, but they've been very good on that too. So, and then wrapping up special teams here, I did think it was really cool. Max Pelham, transfer from Mankato, the punter, comes in and just has a heck of a punt. A 44-yard punt, just skied super high in the air, causes some confusion for the return man and the blocker for Youngstown State. But man, a question on that, and probably Alex knows. I know the football on a muffed punt can't be advanced. We've learned that this year. But what about if you would score? Does that count if you score? Does it count? Or is it just like if you can't, move it 10 yards down the field? I don't know. Is it just
I guess that was after I had left, so I don't know the scenario you're talking about.
So they put it back wherever the muff punt happens. But if you pick it up and return it for a touchdown, would that count? I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, have to ask Alex. So Alex, let us know.
No score, only possession. Says
all right.
Jordan.
Well, Jordan's not a referee. He's like a doctor or something, so he wouldn't know. But we want Alex to answer. So love you, Fink.
Still smarter than all of us, I think.
I was going to say, smarter than me. We'll let him have it.
Yeah. All right. Well, so which side of the ball you guys want to talk about first, offense or defense?
Let's start with offense. I think, offense looked pretty good, but arguably not as good as last week in some ways, better in other ways. We're still dropping some passes, had some get floated a bit. If we really want to do well next week, we can't have those errors, whether they're mental errors or just errors. We need to be as close to perfection as we can be. And we've been increasing in our pursuit of perfection every week. So it's good to see that. But where we really need it is next week. It's going to be a challenge. I watched, I guess we should say that for the preview a little bit, but yeah, I think the offense looked real good. I mean, it was pretty awesome seeing Chase run the ball as fast as he does.
Yeah.
Wow, that guy has wheels, and I'm pretty sure he was kicking himself in the butt on that first touchdown. His feet were coming up so high on the back end, and just moving so fast, the camera, you almost couldn't catch it. It was crazy. Dude, dude's the only one that had more yards per carry than our running backs. He kind of made them look silly. Usually what a 28-yard average or what was it? Yeah, 28 yards per carry. It would have been the crazy average for Kirby Voorhees, and he had 32 yards per carry. Yep. Holy shnikes. Yeah, and Mark looked good running the ball. I liked seeing that. That was pretty cool. He had some real good success, got us some first downs when we really needed them. We're going to need that going forward, I think. And I'll just let somebody else talk at this point.
It was funny because Riggs and Jay Elson commented on how the YSU secondary players were making some business decisions with Chase Mason coming at him down the field. And I don't know, he's just so fast. I mean, he's huge and he's that fast. I think we saw it on our defense a little bit, just taking poor angles a little bit. So maybe that was some of what YSU was doing. But Kyle from Splitting Hairs posted kind of a screenshot of the body language of one of the cornerbacks for YSU trying to make the tackle on the sideline with Chase, and he wasn't trying that hard. So it was kind of funny. So anyways, I was really impressed with him. Like you, Chad, would love to see Mark settle down and connect on some of those throws right away. I'm not sure if this actually made it in Rants and Raves on the published draft or if it was what I deleted accidentally this morning, but the right tackle play right away had me a little concerned. And with Mark having those misses on two of them for sure, he had guys in his lap.
Yep. He did on a bunch of them.
Yep. And so I think we just need our offensive line to settle in on pass blocking a little bit sooner in the game. And I know that's probably when the DNs are freshest and have the most juice and tenacity, whatever, before their spirits broke. But still, you got to give some time to be able to connect on those deep shots. Any of the passing plays really early in the game. What about you, Jake, offensively?
Yeah, I mean, I was really pleased with the offensive line from the run game standpoint. Again, just blocking downfield, not shying away from the recap here, but looking forward. I think the next 2 weeks, that's going to be huge. I mean, we got to make sure we're sound there, especially next week. That's gap sound football, both sides of the ball. So you're really going to have to make sure that you're leaning into not making mistakes, doing your job, doing your 111th, as the guys say. So I think that was really, really positive to see. Obviously, the different looks with Chase was really cool. I think, again, coming from what that gives the defense, that's a little bit of a challenge, right? I mean, there's a lot of principles that go into, the other side of the ball in the defense. For example, if it's a shotgun and a back, where's he set up? Is he offset? Is he behind the quarterback? Is he even with the quarterback? What's the offensive lineman doing? Is he back? Is he front? Obviously trying to get an advantage on run pass. But when you throw a number 7 in there that can do all of those things, it just twists. I mean, that twists those guys' minds up on the other side, the D line, the linebackers. So all right, 7 can run it. He could pass it. They could run a triple option here. They could do whatever. I mean, there's flea flicker, you name it. And then they just do an outside zone, and triple option look. It was I think that's the type of stuff to get him in there that is really kind of strong to see that we're getting creative. We're using him. He's obviously an asset. They talked about it in the post game, just kind of the relationship between him and Mark, and I think their ability to work with each other, really a cool thing. So I think that's positive with the offense. And like I said, next week we're going to have to be as sound as possible with NDSU. So really pleased with that. I know the rant of some of the O-line play from the past game, I think is probably valid too. There's definitely an opportunity for Mark to settle in, and it's hard to do that when you got a guy in your face, you're not getting that time. Again, we referenced that in the UNI game. I mean, when he was able to have time and let the play develop, he made some really good plays at UNI, and he did in this game too. I mean, we won 63-13, and we can't be too critical, but I think that there's a level there that, like I said, going into the next couple of weeks, we got to be sound in those things.
Yeah. Some reference to the tight ends getting involved. Really like to see that. That was fun. David Alpers, he looks good out there. He's tall. Yeah. I didn't realize how tall he was. Davin Stoffel finally getting a touchdown. He looks like he's getting healthier, moving well. And that's something that's really exciting because I think he is at this point the most complete tight end in that room. He's someone they were super high on all of spring, all of summer, and then he gets hurt early in the year. So for a young player, that's tough coming back. Hopefully he's getting healthy because we're going to need some consistent production, I think, out of that tight end room as the season goes along. So tight end blocking was better. Yes.
Yep,
using that jumbo package helped. Oh, geez. Thanks, Dallas. He's tall. So yes, if you want my full preview on David Alpers, basketball superstar, played above the rim, wasn't used a ton at O'Gorman in the passing game. I think he was more of an all-state defensive end, if I remember right. And so moving to tight end has been different for him. But definitely putting it all together after battling injuries. He missed all of last season with injury. So yeah.
There was a quick comment there about the coaches kind of falling into a groove too. I think that's a good thing to call out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we referenced that Oklahoma State game and just, again, our only loss really kind of looked tough. We go into Incarnate Word and Augie, hit or miss at times, but I think the team's starting to fall into a groove. We're noticing that the last couple of games. Same thing with those coaches. I mean, those offensive coordinators, I think we're starting to see a little bit probably smoother operation from them in terms of where they're at. I think that's a big thing to kind of consider too at, what point, game 5, game 6 right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you got two new dudes or two guys new to each other. It's going to take a little while to mesh and, where what the other one's going to do. Because that's a thing, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when you work on a job site, you work with your father, you've worked with him your whole life. You don't have to say as much, the body language tells you what he wants. You work with your wife and something that would be obvious to you, maybe not so obvious to her. And, that can cause issues at times. So I think we're seeing a little of that resolve. You can't be mad when you win by 50. We got that Culver's Butter Burger, and we all went after the game and enjoyed those Culver's Butter Burgers.
What a day.
Yeah. So defensively, I do want to talk about YSU's quarterback, Bo Brungard. I thought, good. Yeah, right. Looking back last week, Dallas did the interview with the gentleman from YSU. That was a really good interview, Dallas. Good job. 2 thumbs up. But Bo Brungard was a better passer than I expected. I thought he threw a nice ball.
Darts.
Yeah.
Money over the shoulder throws way downfield.
Yeah. And it's been surprising to me reading some of the YSU fan boards on Facebook or just Facebook in general, how upset they were about, they want to get rid of the coach. They want to get rid of the quarterback. I thought the quarterback was the least of their problems. Like they just need a defense, and our defense is pretty dang good. But man, Bo Brungard again, I thought was a nice player for them. I thought he was fine.
Yeah. And I mean, they converted on some of those third downs. I mean, that's a big thing. I think if you really look at some of our opportunity on defense, again, Coach Rogers called it out. He was, I don't think you ever notice, he always talks about the spirit of the team and the effort and the energy, but some of the execution at times is really where he kind of falls into. And, I think he'll be honest with that criticism to those guys. But I think when we get to the execution on third down, we talked about that with, not missing tackles. The first level tackle sometimes has been a struggle for us this year. We're getting too many second, third level tackles. But again, when they're converting on third down, like, props to them. Like you said, there was some good plays on their side. Like they converted. Again, something we can call it on our end to not allow from a defensive standpoint. But that was probably the biggest thing transitioning defense wise, I think, to call out.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you bring that up because I'm guessing you don't listen to the coaches show afterwards, Jake. And I just happened to have, a whole hour drive to listen to that. And it was something that, Jimmy pointed out. He's like, we didn't execute on those third down situations. It's not that we had the wrong call. We need to do better. So Jimmy was literally pretty upset about it. Like, how'd the game go? Well, we needed to do a lot better on defense. And you were saying something about stats before the show here, Matt. Maybe you care to comment about that a little bit as we move along here. But that those third down, the conversions, we can't get into a situation in the FargoDome. I know I'm jumping ahead of the game, but
That's okay.
how can you not? It's marker week. Sorry. I bit my tongue, but you can't let them extend their drives. That is historically what they've done to kill us. If they do that again this next week, it'll be our downfall. So we have to improve on that.
And that was
we'll
9. Yeah. And we were, or YSU was 9 of 17, over 50% yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's not good. The time of possession was in favor of YSU, 40 minutes and 14 seconds to 1946. Jake, as a defensive end that, didn't have a lot of rotation when you played, would you want to be on the field for 40 minutes up in the FargoDome?
No, I mean, again, I think the style of yesterday's game was maybe a little bit unique just with, the score gap. But yeah, I mean, when you get to those games where you're playing 80, 90 plays as a defense, that's tough versus, again, right now with the depth we have, a lot of guys are only playing 30, 40 plays, which is great. Again, especially when you can turn it over and have the same level. So, especially with North Dakota State, what they're going to do sound football. They're going to get you on run pass option and some play action, and you got to be ready for some of those things, not to jump ahead. But I think that's where we found the opportunity here this last week that, like Jimmy said, like being able to execute, which will come. I mean, I probably, again, a little bit of a narrative from a guy that trusts the coaches and just, kind of lets things happen. But I think our coaches, you got to assume going into this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's going to be preached to that defense.
Mm-hmm. Matt, we really missed you last week with the stats and so forth. Did you happen to catch how many defensive ends got time in this game?
What was there?
It's like 6. Most of our defensive ends played. That was crazy to see that many guys getting time, which is cool, right? We need that.
What's his name? The kid out of Sioux City that Dallas previewed when he committed. In the end. Goodness, why can't I think of him right now?
Levi Vandenbach. No, Sioux City. Oh, Nick Wells. Nick Wells was in a bunch.
Yeah,
number 50.
He's playing really well. When Dallas profiled him when he committed and stuff, I thought he was going to be kind of a slow burner type of guy, going to take a while to get ready. It's just his second year on campus, and he's playing really well. And Reese Kirschman's in the same class as him. So both redshirt freshmen, looking really good out there. And you can kind of see when I interviewed Bibbs, remember I talked about this, that he said Wells kind of has a little Mason McCormick play through the echo of the whistle to him, kind of needly of the whole game. He does. If you watch him, he's kind of funny out there, and just how he gets a little extra shove in here or there. And he's one of those guys that, you cheer against and you love to hate when they're on the other team. But when it's your guy doing it, it's kind of funny. So he's kind of funny out there. I just appreciate him, within that D-end rotation, Dawson Ripperda, Kobe Claiborne, man, those two are active out there. And Levi Vandenbos, we don't talk about him a lot, but he doesn't do anything wrong either. He's just a steady Eddie out there. So you love having players like that too.
It was really good to see Randy Camonye come back in and get some time too. So he did excellent on the plays that he was in. So we know that dude's kind of an athletic freak in a way, and I'd just like to see him really get his numbers as far as playing time up. So that because he's such a good player.
Yeah. Did you see his one celebration when off the interception, like right by the pile there? That was
I know.
Awesome.
He's like, I was like, oh. I thought maybe the ref was going to say something because it looked like he was just excited, but it looked kind of bad a little bit on camera. So glad it didn't draw a foul.
Dallas's guy, Bryce Hawthorne, super disruptive again from the interior. And I think it was Riggs that called it out during the broadcast, just his swim move and how quick of a swim move it is from the interior. That's a big man that can move like that. Man, he has a bright future. Oofta. He's going to be good. So think I wrote about this. Again, it's hard for me to tell folks if you don't know, or you don't know. These guys do. But I wrote Rants and Raves twice today. Read as I was about ready to publish it. I accidentally deleted the whole thing. And our program was unable to get back and undo it. So that kind of stunk. So I'm forgetting what I actually made the final cut. But I am so happy with our young linebackers when they're getting in the game. Cullen McShane, Chase Van Tol, Bryce Johnson, Joe Ullman. Man, those 4 are going to be just studs. I love our upper class guys, our 3 seniors, 4 seniors, and Caleb Francel. But man alive, these young backers are going to be something. So
I just want to call out Cullen McShane because he had one of those ankle tackles on the kickoff coverage. Dude, what wheels that guy has. He is fast. And I know the coaches have talked about it, him being of the Bach Roseboom prototype, the next guy up. I'm excited.
Yeah.
He's going to be good.
Yeah.
He already is good, he's going to be better. But you know what I mean.
Yep. Look at Jake. Jake's already scouting NDSU. That's what he's doing.
Jake,
there. Just looking up NDSU stats.
Jake, why don't you lead us into game balls? Tell us about
one plus one for NDSU. That's every week. Plus one for NDSU.
Hey, okay.
Before we kind of transition in, big shout out to our sponsor Cubbies. As always, again, we were talking about all the people that came to tailgating and then probably just went to Cubbies, and Cubbies, the great host they are, probably was handling that well. So again, big shout out to Cubbies as always. And I always think a cool thing that maybe a little jealousy here, that they're just so supportive of the student athletes now. There's always different student athletes posting about at Cubbies. They're helping out with NIL and different things like that. So I think it's just kind of a great relationship, great place. You got to be proud of that. And again, a great sponsor for us. So thank you to Cubbies Sports Bar and Grill.
There we go. All right. So Jake, you have the card. Who did we all pick last week for game balls?
So I had Mark and Kobe. Matt had Angel and Graham Spalding. Chad, KTV, and Max Balloon. In Dallas was Kobe, and I'm trying to think who we had in offense. Maybe he'll chime in here. Did you have that? I don't have him written down for offense. Sorry. I don't know if you have that one, Chad.
For Matt's pick?
For Dallas.
Oh, he had Graham Goring, and Kobe Claiborne. Sorry.
Kobe. So I think I had, well, I guess depending who we're giving. I think it's probably, I don't know, offense.
So I gave it to Chase.
Yeah.
I gave it to Chase in Rants and Raves, but
I can do that.
It's hard not to.
Agreed.
He had a hell of a game. Mitch Miller's talking about Colton Tilford, by the way, on this comment. He says one depth guy that stood out was at the end of the game was number 26. And Colton Tilford's got a promising future too.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. All right. So Chase, any other nominations on offense?
Gus Miller, dude's a stud. Yeah, watching him pull and make some holes. Goodness gracious, Gus. I love it. Keep it up.
So Gus has not been offensive lineman of the week for team player awards yet this season.
It's kind of crazy. Maybe because the expectations are higher for him. I wouldn't doubt that that's not a thing.
Yep.
Like, you know,
Berenson's on three times.
Yeah, he had a good game too. He was doing some work on his pulls too and getting some good blocks downfield. So, 61 was looking good. 60 was looking good. They definitely stood out amongst the linemen.
There we go. All right. Defensively, I went with Dallas Beanham. There's a lot of guys here, though, that could, we mentioned Van Tol, Chase Van Tol. I think Francel. I really liked what Graham Spalding did early in the game. But the touchdown or the long catch, whatever that was, long catch when he was matched up with receiver, that's a total mismatch, but still it happened. But I did like what Graham Spalding did, though, for the most part yesterday. But I went with Dallas Beanham.
I was probably going to lean on Dallas too, but I thought 23 was just all over the field for a while too. Durant, you just saw him doing a lot of stuff.
Yep,
that stood out to me.
He's playing so well. I really love Matt Durant. Yep,
and I know Bach has just been consistent, and maybe his name isn't getting called quite as much, but he's there on every play. Like, I think the other guys are just better around him, and that's part of it. He's always there, but Spalding was everywhere yesterday. And the fact that he was that tight on that receiver, I mean, granted, he's supposed to have him, I suppose, but he was right there, and that's who I'm giving it to. I'm giving it to the law firm. Jim Poppin here says that's who he wants to give it to too.
Okay. Jake, how does that happen schematically for Graham Spalding to end up on a wide receiver deep, an outside wide receiver deep like that? How does that happen?
You know, you got to remember that when we played, they used to say defensive end was like kindergarten level education wise.
Okay.
So I stayed in that realm. No, that was actually nose guard was kindergarten. I think D end we were like 8th grade. That's what our old D line coach would tell us. He's like, that's how the level I'm going to challenge you. So I can't really speak to that secondary too well, but
sure.
I think it has to do with coverages and where they run.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, thanks, Chad. Yeah.
Offensive lineman. There you go.
That was helpful. I mean, I know that's obvious, but that's like
it's because they had the other colored jersey.
How I can break it down.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, like, whatever. Everybody knows I don't add a whole lot to the mix.
Oh,
so.
Stop! I'm gonna have to.
Very profound insight from the producer.
Yeah. I'm gonna figure out how to get on the press conference this week and ask that question of Jimmy. He'll be like, "How did you get in here?" So I think that's all right.
The Podfather here with a question.
Yeah, right.
I think maybe he knows who you are. He'll know who Matt Tolls.
Maybe this week. So all right. Okay. Should we move on to NDSU or special teams?
Do it.
Special teams win to Angel. If you get a score touchdown, special teams.
I agree.
Okay. All right. There we go. Great. And Dallas is lost, so we don't know for sure. But all right. So we went Chase, Dallas, and Angel. Anyone hit on those, Jake?
No.
No. Darn it. And Chad was closest on the score. So put up a lot of points.
48-9. I said they're only going to get three kicks, but unfortunately, our defense actually allowed a touchdown. Come on, guys, do better next week.
Yeah, over 200 minutes of game time without a touchdown, and then they blow it. Yeah,
you let the whole team down. Sarcasm. I'll raise my hand next time.
Yeah. All right, Chad, tell us about Northwestern Mutual quick and what's going on there.
All right. Well, we all know Northwestern Mutual is the place to go to get your financial house in order. If you don't have a will or a backup plan with life insurance, here's a little tip on life, a little life hack. We're all going to die, so you need life insurance. It's going to happen. It's best off if you plan. So go see Chris Schenkel down in Sioux Falls, get some life insurance. If you don't have your 401k and stuff set up and all figured out, or a Roth 401 or Roth IRA, get down there, see him, get that stuff in order. It will take a burden off your mind. One less thing to worry about in life. You can just retire knowing that, or go on with life knowing that retirement's going to be easy when you get there. So give them a shout at Northwestern Mutual. They'll take care of you. They have a great business and help you out. And the other thing they are is the FCS sponsor of Alex's Lemonade Stand. Yesterday was a banner day for pudding shots. I was blown away by the donations. We have one gentleman that stuffed a $100 bill in there. I know you know who you are. You're a fan of the podcast. Sincerely appreciate that. We had a $50 bill put in there. We raised 300 and 400 before. It was $660 yesterday. I got home and the little pouch that I use, it's like a little, I don't know, a lot of girls carry them as small purses that I got at Walmart to put the money in. It was just stuffed. And I was like, I wonder how much is in here. Well, 660, but $659, but I put $1 in to round it out, obviously.
Of course.
Couldn't let $659. So amazing what we're doing there. I know Mark's a little behind on the on the numbers, but don't let the numbers fool you. We got some money that'll come in at the end, kind of like somebody did to us last year. Jim Poppin gets a ton of credit. He was running the lemon top challenge. And for those of you that don't know, all you got to do is take a lemon, put it on top of your head, tag Northwestern Mutual, Alex's Lemonade Stand, Go Jacks Football. And for every social media account you do that on, Northwestern Mutual Foundation will donate $10 to your player for your school. In this case, it would be Mark Gronowski. So people were asking me a little bit about it, and I just straight sent him over to Jim. Like, Jim's got it under control. Just he had a hard hat, a yellow hard hat with a lemon taped on it with duct tape, and
Nice.
taking pictures. And yeah, like he said, even former President Peggy Miller came over, and she was obliged to put the lemon hat on too. And so that's really cool.
Hey, let's make sure next time Barry comes over or President Dunn comes over, we make it happen for him too. So
nonchalant,
that would be sweet.
His first name, like you know,
well, sort of. But when we played Southeastern Louisiana, I thought it was really cool. Their broadcast team on the show actually highlighted what was happening with Alex's Lemonade Stand and some of the efforts on that campus that day when Stone was there. I would love if Tyler and the Jackrabbits, the game can do that, or the preview show could do that before. I think that would be super cool.
It would be a good piece of like pregame television that Midco could put together. I mean, I know that
Midco too. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they could just maybe talk about Alex's Lemonade Stand. I get that they're not so much into the corporate thing that's their business model. So I'm not trying to talk them into that, but Alex's Lemonade Stand's a great thing that they could potentially promote. I mean,
exactly.
So if you listen to this show at all.
Yeah. Right.
And speaking of the Midco broadcast, you had some kind words for them earlier today, didn't you, Matt?
Yeah. I just in general, I was very skeptical about Jay Elson doing both broadcasts. I know he's a huge, I shouldn't say a huge Coyote fan, but he is, right? He loves
the Coyote, right? That's cool.
And I think it's fair to say that, but I think he has really done a really professional job.
Yep.
Calling the Jackrabbit games, and I just appreciate that he's brought that to the broadcast. We all loved Tom Neiman. Tom interviewed us last year before the Natty, and that was cool. But we missed Tom, but Jay is doing a really good job too. I don't think we can say anything differently than that right now. So
no, he's consummate professional and does a great job. And they have the quarterback extraordinaire. He adds quite a bit too. So it's good to get his insights as well.
Yep. All right, let's get into marker week here. And I just want to say right off the top, we are working to get some NDSU experts on. I have a message in with the Bison Report guys. And so I would love to have either Ross or Zach on with us at some point this week, just to learn more about what's going on up in Fargo under Coach Polasek and what they've seen differently this year versus previous years. So we'll see if that message gets answered or not, but I would love to talk to them and get their perspective.
If you're familiar with the B team and you're familiar with FCS Fans Nation, we might have a special annual guest coming on Tuesday that will join us and make the discussion quite interesting. Some say he's an unbiased Bison fan. Some would disagree.
Not for this week. Not for this week.
No, he's not unbiased this week, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. That's great. He's a great human. So Matt Frazee. Yes. So Jake, you've been scouting NDSU for the last 2 weeks. What do we need to know?
Yeah, man, I get pumped up for this game. I think I've been waiting for us to have this conversation in the last 15 minutes. Not that it was bad talking about the lemonade, but just I'm just itching. No, you're good. You're good. I'm just itching. It's a lot of energy. I mean, it's similar to HOBO Days. Obviously, you got a lot of extra things, extra noise, especially with this game. I think you get going up there, not an easy place to play. We know that. Night game, ESPN2, really exciting. I think with that buzz, I think you're not – obviously, the coaches are aware of that. The players know that with the ESPN2 game and the evening time. So I just, there's not there's not a time that I think you play these guys. And again, even the last couple of years, they're just a very sound football program. And I think you get their coaching staff kind of back in line. Not that Ents did a bad, poor job or anything like that, but I do think there's just this shift back in that culture that you can kind of start to see. I think of our culture, what did Coach Stig really kind of embody the last 24 years with the relationships and the program, that the way it is. And you're not hugging buildings, you're hugging people when you're leaving. I mean, he always says that. I think that's an important thing. And I think that's the culture they've built up there. I mean, you got to give them respect as much as we maybe have a rivalry and a lack of love for them. You got to respect them and what they've done. So I think there's just a lot of excitement going into this game. I'm pumped for it. They're a good team this year. Obviously lost to Colorado the first game of the season. Close one at East Tennessee State, the third game of the year, but since then have kind of fallen into a groove similar to us. Big win over UND, which was kind of, their in-state rival. We didn't know what UND was at that time, really. And I think that, 41-17 kind of showed a little bit more of what that team looks like for NDSU. So, they're averaging 40 points a game, almost 5 yards a rush. They're a good sound football team, only 6 fumbles, not turning the ball over. So it's going to be a tough one. I think I'm really excited for it. But again, all the good things we've said about SDSU so far, this is going to be a heck of a matchup.
What do you think about that passing efficiency up there, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, Miller, what we're talking about a little bit, or some guys were mentioned here, injury right now. I don't know if that's going to really make a huge impact on it or not. But I think that's, the thing that I've always recognized with them. They're going to run power football. They're going to do the sound gap football that they always do, but they're always schemed very well, especially in the pass game. So they'll come at you with an RPO or a play action, get to the second, third level. I think that's going to be, you talk about the pass game, our ability to be sound, kind of like Jimmy talked about, or Coach Rogers talked about, being executing, really well is going to be important this year, especially against that pass game.
I agree that they definitely look more like the Bison teams of old, although I would add a small asterisk in that this year they've in years past, they have always ran to set up the pass. This year, it's really seemed like they've passed to set up the run. Cam Miller came into the last game 77% efficient. That's amazing numbers for a quarterback. I know he was hurt, so he wasn't as mobile. That's good for us. We want to beat them at the top of their game, honestly. We don't really want them hurt. He just didn't seem as mobile this last game, but that they could be sandbagging it. He did get hurt a little bit, and he limped off the field at one point.
Yep.
But, and that's what's weird about those ankle things. They can pump you full of some painkillers so you don't feel them so much, but every once in a while they come through. I wouldn't bet on him not being able to run the ball is what I'm trying to say. I do like that the UND team that just got decimated in Fargo that beat them last year, their offensive coordinator is now on a team that's going to play them Saturday night in Fargo. So hopefully that he brings a little of that secret sauce with him. Matt, I know you had something to say. Sorry to just.
No, it's just Cam Miller's taking his game to a whole nother level, guys.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he really has. Of course, a train right now. Completing 77% of his passes, like you mentioned, Chad, 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, to 0 interceptions. He's just not making bad decisions. He's processing fast. Even when you take out his rushing ability, which he's done really well. He's the third leading rusher on the team this year. Chad, you mentioned that maybe this is going back to the Bison offense of old. Brendan mentioned this recently. They've really just settled in on a 2-back system again. Shamar Brown out of Omaha, I talked about him before the season started, and then Brika Capeno up out of Fargo. Alex talked about him. These are 2 really good backs, both a little bit different, both averaging 4.7 per carry. I mean, these are 2 really good guys that they can lean on. Similar again to the guys they had 7-8 years ago that really were workhorse like, and kind of a dual system versus 5 guys trying to split carries. And then their receiving stable. We have talked about this or I've at least hinted on it a number of times the last couple of years. They have all these young receivers. When are they actually going to get them on the field? And these were 3-star recruits, guys that were highly sought after, and they just were not seeing the field under Entz. They finally have, out of necessity, because they're the only guys left on the depth chart, gotten on the field. Bryce Lance leads the team. Trey Lance's younger brother, 35 reception, 418 yards, 5 touchdowns. He looks super smooth out there. Joe Stoffel, if he's not the best tight end in the Valley this year, he's the second best. JJ Galbraith down there at USD is having a really nice season too at the position. But then Chris Harris, Mekhi Collins, Tyler Terhark, John Gores, Jackson Williams is a fun kid out of Omaha. He's their kick returner and punt returner. Pretty dang electric. They've already burned his red shirt. There's talk on Bisonville. What school is he going to go to next year when they offer him all the NIL money? So too bad that's the mindset that folks are having with these young studs. But man, Bryce Lance, Chris Harris, Mekhi Collins, fun players, fun trio of receivers. And they still got Raja Nelson too, but he's been hurt, only played in 2 games this year. Really just kind of a fun team on offense. They start some younger guys on the interior of the offensive line. That would not shock me if we see some attempts there on the guard center combination that's younger, to kind of disrupt them. Maybe that's where the pressure comes from, because the tackle combo is pretty solid. But I've watched a lot of NDSU this year. I like this team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So sorry, that was a lot, everyone.
No, there's a thing. I think all those things are great. I mean, spot on. They got some studs. They got some athletes. They're kind of getting back to some of that, core North Dakota State football. And again, one of the things that's core about them and always has been is their efficiency. And they don't make a lot of mistakes. So right now, if you look, red zone offense, they're scoring 91% of the time. 75% of that is touchdowns. Yep. That's tough to compete with all the time. You got to be able to make. Which again, I think our defense can step up and do it. I'm not saying we can't, but that's a challenging element going into a big game at Fargo. And I'll say it. It's something I think is on everybody's minds. Playoff implications, home field advantage. I mean, we're starting to really make a deal here, because you look at their remaining schedule: Murray State, Northern Iowa, bye, and Missouri State. So you have to assume, by the time they get to November 23rd, when they're playing USD as the last game of the season, they're probably not having another loss after this.
Yep.
So, I mean, they're in a really good position if they walk away on next week with a W. Doesn't put us in a great one either, I think, going into playoffs. So, I mean, a huge, and we've seen that happen. I mean, since 2012, we made the playoffs every year. Like, the playoff home field advantage is a huge deal. I think for us especially.
Yep, exactly. Huge game. Just with you're exactly right, Jake, with what they have left on their schedule, what we have left. This is big time. So,
and I think it goes without saying that whoever wins this game comes out the overall number 1. If it's, and obviously USD may or may not have something to say about that. We aren't 100% sure of who they are at this point. But in my mind, this game comes down to one real thing for us, and that's our defense. Our defense is going to win this game. If we win, it's going to be our defense. If we don't win, our offense, I think, can score on these guys. I don't see that being a problem. I watched this last game. They really play aggressive defense. And that's something I wanted to touch on too. I'll get back to it, but they play a really aggressive brand of defense, which opens them to like some screen passes and such. They had SIU had some real success passing the ball downfield, and the other thing I think that would be cool to see is they tend to try and jump the count a little bit. So I think we can draw them off sides in a situation where we need to. So that's something I would hope the coaches would key in on as well. Obviously, we got to win the turnover battle. That's always key. And Cam hasn't turned the ball over. It's about time for number 7 to get his 13th pick off. I'd love to see that. and the thing that I'm most concerned about with our defense versus their offense is they really like those dink and dunk short underthrows. We've been susceptible to that all year. I saw it on the Augustana game. I've been concerned ever since. That's something we need to maybe focus on shoring up a little bit this week, because they will kill us with it if we allow them to. Can't play too soft on that. And I think we can win this game. I really do. I'm fully confident that this team has what it takes. I'm just a little concerned. And at the end of the day, to me, it comes down to defense. And then our passing game on offense needs to step up to the next notch. Yep. Those two things, we see that happen. We win the turnover battle. I think we got an advantage when it comes to the special teams, the other third part of the game. I think we just do, because we got a special teams coach. I don't know if they do or not, but man, it's made a big difference for us. And I think that might be the X factor there as well. I mean, I don't know.
Defensively, they're still running, a 4-3. And they've kind of gotten away from that undersized linebacker that they had for a couple of years, that Oscar Benson that they were trotting out, along with the other safety. I forget his name. He was from Neuqua Valley area too. Him and Mark's parents were friends. But the Marcus Gully is a kid they brought in 2 years ago from Moorhead. He was an NSIC all conference type player. Really impactful for them right now. He's third in the team in tackles. Logan Kopp is actually leading the team. Linebacker out of Missouri. Really like Logan Kopp's game. He's a lot of fun. One thing that they've done defensively is they kind of ran like a very similar safety setup that we do, where both safeties are pretty interchangeable. There's not necessarily always a free, always a strong. They've gotten away from that this year and actually have a designated free safety, a designated strong safety. And so Sam Young has actually been playing a lot more down in the box as the strong safety. He's such a liability in coverage that if there is a way to get him, assigned to the tight end or whatever it may be, there's going to be some advantages there, because Sam Young is a smaller type player too. Just not great in coverage, but man, he will hit you at the line of scrimmage for sure. Eli Mostart, right on that defensive line, feels like he's been there forever. Him and his brother, the twins. Mostart leads the team with 3 sacks right now, 6.5 tackles for loss. Really disruptive, and he's going to be a challenge on the interior, wherever they put him. So they brought in a safety. I forget, I can't say his name. He's from the Ivy League, Achidme Alfaro, along with Marcus Shepard, who they brought in last year. Those are kind of their starting quarterbacks that they trot out there. We'll see. A number of guys rotate on the defensive line. Some guys mentioned them getting banged up along the D-line. Seth Fisher mentioned that. But we'll see on this. If I were them and I wanted to beat SDSU, I would dare us to throw the ball. I really would. I would put 8 guys in the box, and until we start connecting consistently in the pass game, I would just suffocate our run game until we prove that we can pass out of it. If we
would almost bet that's what we see.
Yeah. If we have any success in the run game at all, even with a stacked box, they're in trouble. Like they are in trouble. They're going to have to stop our run game first.
One other thing I wanted to mention that I failed to mention with our defense specifically is we've been doing a lot of twists and so forth, stunts on defensive line. That's something that we have to be careful with this game, because if you get caught in the wrong stunt, it's gone. And I don't know if that's what our plan is, but these guys can find another gear and get downfield and beat you bad if you stunt to the wrong hole and they figure out what you're doing. So I don't know if we see quite as much stunting in this game. I honestly think we won't, but time will tell.
Yep. Jake, anything on that? The games, the D-line games?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times recognizing the coaches, obviously, the amount of film and prep and game planning, scheming, I think they're probably recognizing, the variables
situationally.
Yeah, I remember we always had a blitz called Bison that we put in every year for the Bison specifically. It was just that complicated, right? He called it Bison, but it was just kind of managing their power and managing some of the schemes that they did. So, I think you're right, Chad. I'm not saying you're not right. I just also feel like, to your point, our defense is really going to be important this week, and so making sure that I think Jimmy will have the guys ready.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go so far as to dare the secondary to come up with a turnover for us, because Cam Miller's so good. He's just going to throw all over you guys. There ain't nothing you can do to stop him. Did you hear that? You guys ain't going to be able to stop Cam Miller.
Oh, John.
He's going to throw all over you.
Too much, Ted. Too much.
Prove me wrong.
Yeah. All right. All right. Jake, what's going on with JFPA?
Yeah, so JFPA again, Jackrabbit Former Players Association. Very exciting time for us right now, I think, as we continue to lean on some of the great momentum and support that we've gotten the last couple of years. We've really kind of taken that to doing more for the guys. So again, considering former players, that family camaraderie that Coach Rogers and Coach Sig have really created, certain things such as our family fund. So looking at, again, former player Matt Anderson, who passed away in a tragic accident earlier this fall, the ability to support his family, but also, do that big picture for all former players, I think is really something we're trying to establish, that fund, if you may. And then again, constantly trying to make the tailgate as good as we can. You get run over there now, and like everybody's mentioned, there's lots of people. Our team's sitting there with a little, barrel smoker. So we're really trying to get that new smoker built and ready to go here by USD. So hopefully that's coming here soon. And then it's the more the merrier at the JFPA tailgate, right? Because you got all the food and all the beer. We got plenty of beer. There's never shortage of beer.
You guys got that
food.
Awesome big screen too, right? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so the big screen's kind of been that was a connection of, our president, Ryan McKnight. Guy comes from Okoboji. Man, fun story. He travels all over college football. Like, that's their business, is that TV. He goes, he said, I've been to Alabama. I've been to Tennessee. I mean, he drives that trailer. It's just cool.
Yeah, that's our guy in Frisco, Jake.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know that, but
I chatted with him last week. Yeah,
Zach's
very cool. All right, let's do some predictions. Dallas, if you're with us, get your predictions in, or else we're going to use Seth Meyer tonight as your predictions, Dallas. So, yeah. All right, offense. Jake, your turn to go first.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Mark. I think we just highlighted the opportunity there for what NDSU does very well, which is stop the run and sound football. And I think our offensive coaches really kind of put Mark in that position to, catch the wide receivers, catch the tight ends. I think he's also a leader. Like we said, he's on the Mount Rushmore of South Dakota State football, and this is one of the bigger games he's going to play. And I think he's going to step up.
And he's never lost to NDSU, so got to keep that streak alive, Mr. Gronowski.
Yep.
There you go.
I'm also going with Mark for all the things that Jake said. Definitely with Mark there. Chad?
I've got a little different angle on mine. 2 years ago when we were up there, our main running back, our number one, as it was, got a little bit dinged. And a young man by the name of Amar came into his own on that game. That was really his coming out party. And so for that reason, Amar, I'm daring you to do it again, buddy. Show him your jiggle. Show him what you got. Make him look silly like you did that game.
Your jiggle.
The jiggle. There we go.
I jiggle more than, let's be honest, I jiggle way more than Amar, but that's a different kind of jiggle, man. I'll tell you, my money's on Amar. I love Kirby Truck and Voorhees. He's my guy. I'm just a fan of his game because he's a little Zenner-esque to me. It seems like kind of like that situation, but kind of different because the guys in front of him are so good as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I want to say Amar has a day.
All right. So Seth Meyer for Dallas is choosing GF Dub, Griffin freaking Wilde. All right.
Yeah, that might be a good one. Pick.
Yeah, that might be a good one.
Yep.
I'd love to see it because if that's the case, Boy, oh boy,
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing this at home.
Yep. All right. Seth, get that defensive pick in. For me, I am going with Jared DePriest on defense.
Nice.
Jared DePriest. Just going to clog up that middle. I like him on these inexperienced interior guys.
I'm going with Durant. I think,
Durant, okay.
Yeah, I think just the scheme that North Dakota State runs. Again, we know they're going to run power. They're going to run their zone, ISO, all the fun things they do. But they've always done a good job of finding a way to scheme us on RPOs and play actions. And I think that second, third level, making plays and stepping up in that level is going to be really, really big.
Okay, and that's what Seth is saying for Dallas too. Matt Durant is going to be causing havoc for the Bison all over the place. Okay, Chad.
Well, I'm going to call out number 94, big Kobe Claiborne. I think he has the day. I'd love to see it. You'd love to see it when a guy's getting some TFLs and some sacks. Perhaps he just happens to make it so the Bison don't get very far. I like this idea, and I'm going to go with Kobe. Let's go.
All right. So Seth Meyer's changing his pick. All right. He said Matt Durant originally, but he says if I have to pick another one, I'll take Kobe Humphrey. Oh, so he's not. Nope. Seth, we're letting you pick Durant's. Don't worry.
You can have both. One of them's Dallas's, but you have to tell us which one.
Oh, funny. All right. And then so for a score prediction, Chad, what's your score?
Ooh, this is going to be a tight one. I like us with 38 and them with 32. That's a weird score, I know, but I like it.
38-32. All right. I am going 24-23 NDSU wins. I picked NDSU this summer. I don't think I've seen anything from either team to not pick them now. So 24-23 NDSU on a Griffin Crosa last second field goal.
All right.
I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. That's you.
I'm thinking 27-17 SCSU.
Okay. And then Seth. Well, Seth Weir. Yeah. Well, Garrett's saying 37-20, but doesn't say who. We come back 27-23. All right. That's Dallas's pick too. All right. I'll be the bad guy. Had to do it. So just being consistent, just being consistent with what we picked in August.
Well, that's something we need to see out of our defense is consistency.
Yeah.
And our offense. We need to see consistency.
Ron Lowney, SDSU is clearly the better team. And
Brendan owes that.
Doesn't Brendan owe him $50? So that's Ron's just, having a good week. So
does Brendan owe Ron $50? I feel like he doesn't. That can't be a
something
thing.
like that. Yeah. Something that Brendan was tweeting about it. So yeah. All right. Well, this is going to be fun no matter what. If you are not making up to Fargo, which I know a ton of you are, be sure to check out the Jack Arbor Illustrated Bar Network. It's right on our website. And it's an awesome list. I'm thinking about going over to Millbank to watch it at the Pump. Supposedly having a lot of TVs there, great environment, huge Jackrabbit bar, and I think I'd love to be there to watch it right there if I can't make it up to Fargo. But I know a lot of you got tickets, which it's probably gonna be the most blue in the FargoDome in a long, long time. So that's really cool. So
make some noise.
Make noise and have fun. So all right. Anything else, Jake, Chad?
Good week. Just +1 for NDSU. That's what we always did. +1 NDSU. Good week.
Yep. All right. The one thing, what am I missing? I'm missing one thing. Oh, Ryan, we gave our scores. It's going to be 24-23 NDSU. So the one thing, like I mentioned earlier, in case you missed it though, I am going to be trying to get the Bison Report guys on just to talk. And I know tomorrow night they're having the unbiased Bison administrator on with the B team on Tuesday night. Yeah. So it'll be fun. So with that, guys, go big, go blue, go Jack.